What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Memory Lane Unscripted, back from the holidays. Part interview series, part video game nostalgia trip. Memory Lane Unscripted is an offshoot series of the video essay series of the very similar name, where I talk to some very cool people about the cool games they love. New episodes every last Sunday of the month on Google Podcast and this very YouTube channel, youtube.com/shotgunmcpain. Joining me today is a man I have yet to make a moniker for, but I'm going to say KFTO leader.
Sure.
And Press YYZ, Press CTV enthusiast.
This cannot be a running gag. Someone is going to issue.
I know.
Like,
We'll cut it out of the podcast, or will we?
It's all good. It's all good.
Anyways, we have Mr. Mitch George himself. How you doing, Mitch?
Yay! I'm doing good. Like you said, the holidays are in full swing. These holidays are weird because it's 2020 and 2020 sucks. I got married this year, so other than that, 2020 sucks. I have to always caveat that because when I say that and I turn around and my wife just gives me that look like she's doing right now as she cuts some fresh bread, which I can't partake in. We're doing this. Yeah. 2020 sucks. Asterisk. I like that.
That's
no, I'm good.
That's really like the flavor of the year, if it go back to our pop punk roots of the flavor of the week. The flavor of the year is like, man, 2020 really sucks, but asterisk though,
Everyone's got something.
I feel like it's been such a great year, but also
it's brought me a bunch of. It's brought me a bunch of new friends. It's brought me a bunch of new opportunities like this one, and getting to chat with you and meet you and get to know some more friends. It's been good from that respect, but then other than that, the world's kind of on fire and not getting better, and hopefully things get better soon. But in the meantime, we talk about video games a lot.
And starting January 15th, we get nothing but Marvel, baby. How you feeling about that?
Oh, dude, I'm so excited. With the rumors that WandaVision will be 8 episodes, we get 2 weeks between WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier. It's just not going to stop. After being deprived of that Marvel content in 2020, just give me everything as soon as you can, as fast as you can. I want it all.
I want Owen Wilson to just be in a lot of the Loki series. I want Daddy Owen Wilson to just be a part of the MCU so bad.
That's probably the thing I'm looking forward to the most, honestly, is Loki, because I don't know what the hell to expect. And
right.
Tom Hiddleston is so fucking good.
I feel like that's like with the entirety of the MCU shows. Is I feel like the only one I really feel like I know that I'm expecting out of is Falcon and Winter Soldier, because I feel like it's kind of a known quantity, but we still don't know a whole lot.
We know enough about their relationship and like the banter between them. Like we get a sense of like the vibe, but from a story perspective, like we know Zemo's involved, we know U.S. agents involved, but other than that, like the hell are they gonna do with it? I'm excited. It's gonna be a fun year.
I'm ready for this TV universe, and I'm ready to hear about Mr. Mitch George. Tell me a bit about yourself. Sir. Tell the people a little bit about yourself.
So I am a software developer by trade, and in my free time, like you said, I help organize the Kind of Funny Toronto kind of fan group, the sect of us that live up here in the good old white north, the Six, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of snow out there right now. And I'm also a co-host on a Canadian video gaming podcast known as Press YYZ, which you can check out every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/PressYYZ. on any podcast service where you might consume them, as well as youtube.com. Just go and search Press YYZ. We are working towards that 100 sub mark so we can get that custom URL, but until we get there, you put in Press YYZ, you see a fun video game kind of logo. That's us.
Yep, and it's going to be in the description so we can help you out and help you guys grow. Great podcast every Wednesday. I am very, very in tune with it. But anyways, let's get to the game that Mr. Mitch George gets eternal joy from. Go ahead. Or games.
It's less. I was gonna say less of a game. It is a series. It is something I grew up on. It was a staple of mine throughout high school. It's something that I've grown up with. It's something that I've missed more this year than any other year because of the way 2020 has been. And that's rhythm game parties, specifically parties involving the play of one rock band.
Mm-hmm.
because oh my god, I grew up, I like in like the high school era is like kind of when I hit my peak of like understanding what music I like. You said we have a shared love and history with pop punk. I'm also really into like classic rock and metal and like kind of a pretty wide range of like rock subgenres. And Rock Band is one of those things for me, and I think it was for a lot of us of, hey, I don't know a lot of these songs, but these songs slap and they slap hard. So you really do discover new music that way. And it was a great way for me to get a group of people together because very rarely do you have four people getting to play a game together, whether it's, you harken back to the GoldenEye era or Call of Duty Modern Warfare split screen or whatever the case might be, of just getting people in a room and playing a game together. And that's why I really enjoyed the years I've gotten out of the Rock Band series.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like you talk about the craze that was GoldenEye 007. Nobody saw it coming. And then, rhythm games had always been to that point, and this is a topic that we've reached on in Memory Lane and Unscripted before, but obviously it's a great topic to be on. But rhythm games in general, like, have been such a niche before the year 2000, really. And then you get a thing called Guitar Hero, and you have
Harmonix put that plastic guitar in everyone's hands.
in everyone's living room, and it's quite possibly in still hundreds of thousands of living rooms to this day.
Yeah, I know at least our household, so my history leading into Rock Band is we had Guitar Hero 2 on the PS2, we had Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock on the Wii, which that's still sitting at our cottage and is something that I will just pop it and play because that game, oh my god, that game, the rock battles and through the fire and flames and killing in the, like, oh my god, just
Went down
every sort of banger you can imagine was in that game. That really kind of opened my eyes to a lot of new music. And then graduating from just the plastic guitar to then bringing a guitar, more than one guitar, because you also had bass, you have the drum set, you have the mic. It changed the way you look at rhythm games, and I love it for that.
Yeah, I definitely, and to another point of like changing, like once you added in that extra factor of being able to play with friends. I don't remember if the original Guitar Hero I don't remember if it was single player or you could play with friends. But
at least Guitar Hero 3, like we'd have friends over with 2 and with 3, and we would just, chase each other's scores or whatever the case might be. Or I know there was definitely like guitar battles in 3.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if there was multiplayer before that. Funny story though, my first online persona, like my gamer tag, actually originated from Guitar Hero 3.
Okay, let's delve into that.
So,
I want to hear that story.
You do. So Guitar Hero 3, I don't remember when it came out. It was, I want to say 2007.
It was either 7 or 8. Funny enough, I had the soundtrack to that game, and I'm trying to think. I remember vividly going into a Hot Topic and buying the soundtrack to that game, but I can't.
October 2007, it released on the PS2,
Nice.
PS3, Wii, and Xbox 360. And as we all know, these games are all about note streaks and keeping up your combos and score chasing and like leaderboard chasing and all that kind of stuff. So I thought I was really cool when I said, oh, we're looking at note streaks. So what if my online persona, or at least in this case, my name for the leaderboards that we had in the game was just streak without the vowels?
Ooh. Oh.
And then, like all the cool kids, you throw a number on the end of that. So I changed my gamer tag to what it is now on all the social media, all the gaming platforms, Mr.MitchGeorge everywhere. I changed that in 2020. So from 2007 to 2020, I was known as STRK14 on all of the online games. And there's a reason I didn't like playing online multiplayer games before this year. 1, I didn't have friends. And 2, you get into a Call of Duty, I was like, what the fuck's a stirk? Like, you're not wrong. I'm an idiot kid. I needed to change it, so I did.
I mean, at least you weren't. It was 2007. At least you weren't one of those guys who're just like, yeah, I really like Monster, and I'm going to put 2 X's, 1 uppercase, 1 lowercase at the beginning and ends of my name.
Okay, I had a friend growing up whose first email address, her first Hotmail address and you're actually going to like this because it actually has pop punk vibes to it as well,
Okay.
was at XXX, so lowercase, uppercase, lowercase, underscore, your guardian angel, as in the red jumpsuit apparatus song, underscore XXX, the same casing.
The underscore definitely adds a new flavor that I haven't thought about before. Interesting. Interesting.
I've had an underscore in my email for as long as I can remember. I still use my first Hotmail email,
like in between the X's. Like that's the
okay,
thing.
Yeah, in between the characters.
Like I'm like, oh, okay. It provides space in between the X's and the name.
Adds emphasis to both.
Exactly. Yeah, I for my PlayStation, I still haven't changed it, but I probably shouldn't put it out there. But
it's not great.
I remember, so there's this game. I'm gonna go on a slight tangent here. That's what this is all about. That's what we're all about. So back in my high school, most of my high school experience sucked, except for the new class that they put out, which was just basically a video game class. And they let us build video games. And by I say build video games, it was very much not building video games. It was like, so there's this game called Sauerbraten. I think it's like just a freeware game, and you could make maps in it. But when you'd have battle against bots, it would be bot underscore and then whatever, it like a number. And I'm like, oh man, how cool would it be? If everyone thought I was a bot online, and I just jump on and I'm like, bot underscore 423, let's go. Got my birthday going. And that's been it ever since. And I want to change it, obviously, because Shock and McPain across the board is much better. However,
long, unfortunately.
I gotta test the waters. I gotta sample some people. I know you have changed your PSN name. I gotta sample because I don't want stuff to screw up. I don't want to have to lose a save. You know what I'm saying?
I've had no issues when it comes to that with changing my gamer tag. The issue I ran into was actually specifically on Xbox Live and Origin for whatever reason. And this is one you'll run into as well, of hard character limits. So my name, Mr.MitchGeorge, is 15 characters, I think. Yeah. And I believe the limit on both Origin and Xbox is 14. So over there, I'm Mr. Mitch G instead of Mr. MitchGeorge.
Okay, well that's not the worst.
No, it's not the best.
But it's not uniform.
No, but I'll take what I can get.
Yeah. But going back to the topic at hand, Rock Band was in many hearts and many homes, and I think it definitely innovated the co-op experience, like you said, into a household name almost overnight. I feel after Guitar Hero 3, Guitar Hero 3 came out, there was Rock Duels, there was and then at around the same time, I think 2007 was also the release of Rock Band.
I believe you are correct. Yeah, 2007 was Rock Band. Yeah, you're right.
And then you added the element of basically becoming a karaoke machine as well, and the drums, and there was a battle of supremacy for the rhythm game champion.
And it was fun too, because growing up, I always wanted to get into music in one way, shape, or form, but we grew up in a relatively modestly small home. So I've always had good rhythm, but we never could get around to getting drums because, small house. And I did eventually end up picking up the bass guitar and learn that because, you get to high school, you got all these bands in high school. Everyone's got the guitarist. Everyone's got the drummer.
Yep.
No one's got a bass guitar. So if you're the one kid with the bass guitar, maybe you make more friends.
Yep. I remember there was a kid in high school that I didn't know very well, but he's like, yeah, I heard that you play guitar. I'm like, no, I don't. I do. I have a guitar. No.
Doesn't mean you play it.
I don't play it. So anyways, here's Wonderball.
So just getting that drumming experience in my life, because even now, you could ask my wife, she hates the fact I'm always tapping on stuff or, playing the bongos on various body parts. So having an outlet like that would be great. and was great, honestly, when we did get that. My parents absolutely hated how much I played that game, specifically the drums.
Yes, and man, I remember. So I lived in the attic of my parents' house, and I remember like playing. I think it was Rebel Yell, and my dad like I hear my dad at the bottom of the stairs. Hey, you like that song? I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh, okay, I like that song too. And that was our interaction. That was probably one of the most sentimental interactions we had, according to Guitar Hero.
And that's the thing is this music will bring people together, right? Because it's either you're using it as music discovery or you're using it as a way to share things you do like. Because eventually, like this is the game that before this, it's like DLC, like that doesn't really make sense to me. And then with a game like this, where it's like, oh, track packs and expansions and Legos, like, yes, give me all of this as quickly as you can. And it kind of eventually clicked of like, yes, I need to add to this experience as opposed to just living with what's in the box.
You remember when so before obviously broadband internet, it's still not widely available, but was as widely available as it was. They had the track packs in disc form. So they had the AC/DC Live. I remember having
that one. Green Day Rock Band, but that was
Green Day Rock Band. That was the old Van Halen was very good. Of course, one that I love, Guitar Hero Metallica, very good. Except for my friends would always play Orion. I was the vocalist of the group, and my friends would always play Orion at least one of the sessions. And that song is nothing but guitar and bass and drums for about 7 minutes. So I would literally go make a sandwich. I'm like, fuck you guys. But
and then eventually you get to what was it, the third game that introduced the keyboard as well?
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Pretty sure it was, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where I kind of drifted off, because then it became either too expensive or like not that we were falling out of it, but I didn't find the song list very, very good in my opinion. Like at that time. I mean, I'm sure I haven't looked at it in years, but I was very much about that pop punk. About at that point, probably listening to A Day to Remember. I still listen to a lot of classic rock, but
do you want to look at it? Because I got it up right here.
Let's do it. Give me those hits. Give me those hits.
All right, so I'm just gonna go from top to just the ones that stand out to me. And you're probably going to be surprised by some of these because I forgot these were in here. Beast and the Harlot was one that I always vibe with. Like, I love me some of that before. Been Caught Stealing, Jane's Addiction, Beautiful People, Marilyn Manson. Before I forget, bringing over that classic Guitar Hero 3 song. The Rock Band universe.
Yeah.
Bohemian Rhapsody, Cold as Ice, Combat Baby, Crazy Train. Don't Stand So Close to Me, Du Hast. Oh man, there's some bangers in here. Fly Like an Eagle from Steve Miller Band. But yeah, you're right. That sort of pop punk vibe wasn't really here with this one.
I remember like original.
I love rock
band.
And roll. I want to be sedated, but yeah.
Original Rock Band had so many just pop punk bangers. I mean, you had so many like Paramore and Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco and like all the big ones. Weezer,
Pixies.
Pixies! Like that was my discovery of the Pixies too. Like,
so my go-to in that game for whatever reason became, because I love the drums, was Maps by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs.
Oh yeah,
that drum line in that song. My goodness, I still know to this day.
I can't remember which. I think it's Rock Band 2 that has Knights of Sidonia by the Muse on it. I remember playing. That is like the most hype shit to play on Rock Band or Guitar Hero, whichever one it is.
I think Knights of Sidonia was Guitar Hero 3. I don't know if it was in a Rock Band.
Maybe it was.
As far as I can tell. Still looking. You keep talking.
Yeah, but Rock Band. Oh man, I just like I feel like in terms of rhythm, in terms of the rhythm of Rock Band and playing the actual instruments, I think I prefer Guitar Hero, which I know is a hot take, but I don't love the way that Rock Band deals with the notes itself. But
Right.
yeah, I was always the rock. I remember I had Guitar Hero 5 was the last rhythm one that or the last of those that I had, which was around the time that they kind of ended. But yeah.
Well, they did bring it back, I think, they tried to follow Rock
they,
Band Speed, and they made Band Hero, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then they also had Guitar Hero Live, which was actually like this next gen resurgence, quote unquote, where you got Rock Band 4 and Guitar Hero Live, and Rock Band is still doing some very interesting things to this day. Surprisingly, Guitar Hero is very much gone to the wayside.
When they had that service too, where it was like
it's
Guitar
basically
Hero
like YouTube
TV.
songs,
yeah. But yeah, and I was always, that's the thing, is like as a vocal person, like I was always looking at the DLC and being like, can I sing this? And I'm like, if I buy this song, will I be able to vibe with it as much as I think I am? And yeah, I think, and that was, you talk about also music discovery, and we've said this before in a previous episode with Cam Hawkins about this, is what a music discovery tool that was. You think of the top 5 music discovery games of all time. You got Tony Hawk, you got Guitar Hero, you've got I'm blanking on thinking anything else, to be honest, but those are like god tier. Need for Speed. Any of the best parts of the sports games are always the soundtracks. At least, obviously, I haven't played a sports game in probably since like 2008. But that was always like, man, Skate was another one that I found so many artists. A lot of the EA games, they did challenge.
Yeah, EA's always done a really good job of soundtracks. Just shout out to EA for that, because I think weren't they also? There's a weird history to Rock Band, because they were originally Activision, and then they ended up moving to. Yeah. Oh no, they moved to,
because it was
MTV, I think it was.
But wasn't it Activision and Harmonix? Was it? No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Harmonix was the original developer of Guitar Hero, and then
they moved over. That's right.
Harmonix was acquired by MTV Games.
That's right. Yeah. It's such a landmark title for, I think, a lot of people's childhood at that point, where then I would talk to my cousin about, hey, I like this band, what do you like? And then it would become a want to discover more music. Like, whereas you have like Tony Hawk, which is much more about the skating and everything, but then you have this bomb ass soundtrack on top of it. You have Rock Band and Guitar Hero over here, which are not only letting you experience these songs, but they're letting you experience the vibes of being at a concert almost.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing from a music discovery perspective was honestly the idea of DLC, of taking these things we loved for years, these soundtracks, these OSTs and games for Tony Hawk, Need for Speed, Madden, NHL, whatever, but giving you ways to add to that and broaden your horizons beyond just that initial soundtrack. Because think of, for me, the one that always stands out to me from the entirety of the Rock Band series was actually Lego Rock Band.
I think I played that one.
Did you ever buy Lego Rock Band?
Dabbled in Lego Rock Band. I think it was I think it was a movie gallery shutting down purchase for me.
So for me, Lego Rock Band had the best, and I'll argue this with anybody, Lego Rock Band soundtrack is the best Rock Band soundtrack they ever put out. You want me to run you through some of this? And you will agree with me, because I see a bunch of stuff that you're going to vibe with specifically.
Let me.
So you got Aliens Exist from Blink-182. You got Song 2 from Blur.
Great song.
Check Yes Juliet by We the Kings. Into Deep from Sum 41. Ray Parker Jr.'s Ghostbusters. Thunder by Boys Like Girls. Swing Swing from the All-American Rejects. You Give Love a Bad Name. The Final Countdown. Walking on Sunshine. A-Punk. Summer of 69. Accidentally in Love. Boys and Girls, or Girls and Boys. So What from Pink. I could go on, but like, this soundtrack slaps.
That soundtrack does slap.
Kung Fu Fighting.
Rock Band 2's got such a great soundtrack, though.
It does.
And Guitar Hero 3, I'm like, I don't know. I'd have to like comprehensively look.
I go like line by line.
Yeah, exactly. Pound for pound, what is the better soundtrack? Yeah, and I think like even so, as for me, I don't know about you, but it brought me out of my shell, talking about Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and having, even if it's a fake crowd, having this fake crowd cheer me on if I'm hitting the notes right. It was such a dopamine rush. And then on top of that, when they had, I remember, and I think I said this before in the last podcast that we had about Rock Band, was the fact that Guitar Hero, there was a kiosk at Walmart, and man, I remember, okay, I'm like, Mom, we need to stop here. I'm going to play a song and then we'll be good. And I was doing like I'm going around. I have the guitar on the back of my head. I'm doing all the tricks. Like, I was all about Guitar Hero. And then on top of that, they were in the arcades, and there's this water park here that's called Great Wolf Lodge, and they had that there. And man, I had a crowd, a small crowd, but a crowd gathering around me, and that was like, oh, I love this. This is amazing. Like, I'm just playing a video game, but also, I wasn't even doing very good. I'm on like medium, and but I think it's the tricks that I'm doing. It's I'm trying to show off for people. It's the performance aspect.
Even for me, as someone who, played an actual instrument and did perform on occasion, albeit just in high school, very limited to like talent shows or, band performances, whatever the case might be, it does feel cool to get out there on a stage and feel like you're in front of all these people doing your thing. And it's really, it's a rush, like you said. And I think they emulated that very well when it came to what they put into the home console experience, and specifically with Guitar Hero, what they did put into the arcade experience. Why didn't this series stick around? Like, I know Rock Band is still kind of doing its thing. They're still putting out DLC. They put out a big expansion like 2 or 3 years ago. So they're still supporting it, but like, why did this fade? Why did this not become a staple in gaming, do you think?
I think the overabundance of peripherals and different peripherals that you needed for different games, I think that was the killer. And on top of that, I don't, like, personally for me, once I hit that rush of like this, like, I remember vividly when I went from, oh, I want to play the guitar, to like, oh no, I want to sing. And then like the rush with hang out with one of my friends, and his brother's coming home and be like, oh shit, like, you're good. You're really good. Like, and that sticks with me, where I'm just like, and obviously then you don't, at that point with vocals, there's a thing called karaoke, and now like I feel like that's a big thing. That,
and even karaoke video games, like you look back on like Karaoke Revolution and like the American Idol games,
Let's Sing,
Let's Sing still they're still putting out Let's Sing. I actually do some reviews on the side and reviewed the most recent game, and it's pretty good. And they've got it now where you can use your phone as the microphone instead of needing an actual microphone, which is really cool. They have like an app for that. So it's cool the way some of these things are modernizing, and then you see kind of the plastic instrument era kind of get left behind for one reason or another. I think I do agree with you that it is just the barrier to entry and having that plastic around and taking up space, but the thrill of just sitting down behind those plastic drums and just banging one out can't be beat.
I think the biggest thing for me, like it was last year, my roommate's brother said, hey, like, we have Rock Band 4, we don't play it, do you want it? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And they're still sitting behind a TV downstairs, where it's just like, I look at that track list is super weak, one of the worst track lists I've seen on any rhythm game. And I think that it's in a point where you needed to buy DLC. And I think that at top of that, I think there was too much of abundance and not enough innovation. Of course, they had, like you said, the piano that was developed, but I don't think like any of the other instruments very much got anything after Rock Band 2 or I think World Tour.
I think with Rock Band 3 as well, there was this interesting push to like make it so you could use more real instruments with it. So I think they actually put out like a MIDI adapter where you could plug your actual guitars in, and it would track certain notes in certain ways. So like they did try some stuff. It just didn't really work.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah.
The nice thing for me in my Rock Band library is it's followed me from 2007 to 2020 in the form of the exports they would let you do from the old game. So you put in the old game, you claim a code, and it would just say, yep, you're from, in my case, my PSN account has been credited with the export from Rock Band 1, 2, 3, Lego, Green Day, Track Pack 1, Track Pack 2, Track Pack Country. All these things just kind of exist in the ether. So when I do want to get back to Rock Band 4, it's less about that game soundtrack and more about all the soundtracks I've carried forward into that game, and even now onto the PS5.
Yeah, and I do think that the biggest problem with that is that the accessibility to get those tracks and the change in soundtracks so drastically each time, which I think was a blessing and a curse, because then you could have the opportunity to discover things that you wouldn't necessarily discover, but also you don't have those hits necessarily that you want. You don't have the
you've got songs trapped on those old games. You have no way to carry forward.
Exactly.
Let things expire, or whatever the case might be. Because that's really the problem you get with music licensing, and part of the reason why we don't have games like Crazy Taxi or some of these old hits that had real bangers of a soundtrack come back in any way, shape, or form. I think the hardest thing for Activision to probably put together for the Tony Hawk remaster we just got was getting back the majority of those original tracks, right?
Absolutely.
Because that is so important to the experience of those games. And these licensing deals are so convoluted, so complex. None of us could really understand it without, having a degree in, law or some crap.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not.
Right.
But if there was any way that they could say, oh yeah, no, let's make the Rock Band 1 Legacy track pack available for, let's say, $50. If you can get the 65 songs from Rock Band 1 for $50,
oh yeah, definitely
jump at that.
Definitely.
So like, it's a bit of a missed opportunity, yeah, like you said.
And that's the thing too, as I think that like it cannot be understated how much it is difficult to get a licensed song back, or to get a game back for that matter. I mean, think about the fact of going to another game with a great soundtrack is Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game. And not only are you dealing with that soundtrack, you're dealing with the license of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. You're dealing with the game license. Like, I mean, I'm sure they had one of those things, but now it's just getting re-released after 10 years of being in limbo. And that's such a shame that is a thing that is so difficult, and it cannot be understated. Again, like you said, the Tony Hawk remake having basically all the songs.
I think 3 songs, I think.
And then also getting new songs, getting the license for new songs.
Having those fit the vibe of those original games. And I just want to say, as someone from Toronto, the fact that they're bringing back Scott Pilgrim makes me so happy inside, because there's a soft spot in there for that property for me, just because it does take place in the city I was born and raised in and still continue to live in to this day. So I'm so ready for that to come out next year.
Same. One question I want to ask you is that, so with Rock Band, with Guitar Hero, obviously gateway drugs. Did you hop into any other rhythm games? Are there any other rhythm games? I know there's one at least you're playing to this day, a Harmonix game that I also picked up last night.
Yeah, you did. Sorry for that.
Yeah, and that is Fuser. But before we get to Fuser, is there any games that at that time where you're like, oh, I'm gonna check this out now, I'm gonna check this out now, to chase that high?
I've followed Harmonix now. I didn't really discover them until Guitar Hero, and when they did their Kickstarter for Amplitude, the Amplitude remake they did, dude, I backed that, because that was at the point where they'd gone independent. They were kind of doing their own thing, and that was something I was wholeheartedly going to support, because they're one of my favorite developers. One that's going to seem strange but will make sense in the context of all this. My second favorite game of all time, and one I will continue to play to this day in any of its different incarnations. And you might not think of it as a rhythm game, but I kind of feel like it could be in that conversation.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Tetris.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say the Batman games. Because it's like, okay, I get it though. Dude, those
no, Tetris.
Yeah.
Okay. It almost feels like a rhythm game, of the same kind of idea of trying to fit something in a certain place at a certain time to get the thing that you need to get. Like, Tetris is my brain treats rhythm games almost like puzzle games. So like that same rhythm that I'd have for a game of Tetris, and especially with Tetris Effect a couple of years ago, like that in VR was a trip.
Oh yeah.
But that kind of plays into that as well for me personally. Trying to think any other rhythm games I really got into. But nothing's really jumping out. I'm trying to remember. No, nothing really jumps out other than, continuing to follow Harmonix because of everything they do. I'll try to think of something for you, but nothing
Fair
really
enough.
jumps out other than Amplitude, Fuser, and even the portable Rock Band games or Guitar Hero games they made. You remember when they did that Guitar Hero peripheral for the DS that was only supported on the DS, the GBA slot, where you hold
Yep.
sideways, cramp your hand, and use a pick on the touchscreen? That was terrible, and I
That was
loved it so much.
awful. It was the
loved
worst experience for Guitar Hero, but man, it's so good.
Or even like the Rock Band Unplugged formula that was basically just Amplitude,
I would
but
say
with Rock Band.
Unplugged was so good, and then on top of that, I don't remember if you remember Blitz, Rock
I do
Band
remember
Blitz, where you just
that was great. You pull your whole library into it, right? So it was that same thing of anytime Harmonix would put out something with the Rock Band branding on it on a PlayStation system, my whole library was there, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's the grace of Rock Band, at least. I mean, EA has their ups and downs recently, but if we have one thing in the back burner, it's that they let us export those songs for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely, and then I would say for me, like I definitely more seek out rhythm games than usual. I mean, recently they released, of course, my favorite game series released a rhythm game called Melody of Memory, and that game is such a unique take on the rhythm game formula. And there's something, like you said before, there's something about beats and hitting a beat, hitting a note exactly at the right time, getting that 100%, that note streak in any rhythm game that very much gives you that rush of like, okay, I'm making it. I'm a high score rush. Very similar to a Pac-Man or a Galaga, where you're fighting for the high score with your friends on the leaderboards.
I did actually think of a couple more recently that I have delved into, and I can't believe they didn't come to my mind right away. First, Beat Saber.
Oh yeah.
It's so friggin' good. Oh my god! And now they got the Green Day tracks, Panic at the Disco tracks. Like, it is a bop and a half. I really got to get that VR set up again so I can play it. The other one actually is one I played on mobile because it launched as part of Apple Arcade, and that was Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Oh, Sayonara Wild Hearts.
And that game had a soundtrack that was phenomenal.
Such an interesting experience.
Such an interesting take. Interesting vibe. One I missed out on that kind of disappoints me was the Donkey Konga games. I never had a GameCube as a kid, and I saw that. I'm just like, I love rhythm games. I love Donkey Kong. Just didn't get a chance to play it.
That was one where I remember seeing the commercials, and I'm like, this looks like it could be fun, but I would never buy it. I would never I could only get a couple games a year, and that was definitely not on my list.
See, it would have been for me had I had a GameCube, because even seeing things like the Mario mix of Dance Dance Revolution they put out, I hated Dance Dance Revolution as a kid. Because we only ever played at home with the terrible plastic mats. My sister loved it. I could not get into it. And seeing that, I'm like, I mean, if Mario can mess with it, why not me? But I'm kind of glad now I didn't have a GameCube, because then I would have probably bought that and not liked it.
Yep. Those dance pads. How terrible were those dance pads? I talk about the like mesh where it was just like the meshy. That was meshy dance pads.
Those are terrible.
Yeah, and I back to something I said earlier, but the fact that the informed gameplay design of rhythm games on other games, and going back to what I said earlier with Batman, I feel the Arkham series is a rhythm game where you have to time it out. Spider-Man, most of the superhero game formulas definitely follow that, but it's just like you have to hit the beats at the right moment, and you have to hit the people at the right moment. Obviously not a traditional rhythm game where you're going to music, but you're going to a pattern. You can basically see it where the enemies are the notes, and when you see them coming at you, you have to counter and then hit and counter and hit. You got to do all these specific things at this right time to make it all happen. And man, like, I think that it cannot be understated how much not only Guitar Hero but rhythm games in general have impacted games in a way. Like, people talk about RPGs and how the RPGs are in everything now, where you have, you know, Modern Warfare, and you have Borderlands, and you have like Destiny, like all the I said all first person shooters, Marvel's Avengers, yeah, any games as a service is definitely that. You got that RPG elements. And then you look at, I think the people don't talk about enough the fact that rhythm games have impacted so many different games in the very similar way. I don't think probably to the extent, but definitely rhythm games are the heart and soul of many, many games. Mitch, do you have a story that you would like to share with us specifically about rhythm games, Rock Band, Guitar Hero? Is there something in there? Give me something in there.
Yes. So I grew up a fan of one of the greatest rock bands of all time, the Beatles.
Of course.
And as a young lad, you'd watch all of the E3 press conferences on their old G4 Tech TV.
Mm-hmm.
And that one year, Microsoft getting real ballsy, and they bring out Paul goddamn McCartney and Ringo Starr to talk about Beatles Rock Band. And that's the first time my jaw to the floor in an instant, because Paul McCartney, like I said earlier, I do play bass, and he is one of my favorite musicians of all time. Whether from a technical perspective, not the most technical bass player, but just the songs and the melodies and the lyrics and just everything about everything he's done, from the Beatles to the Wings to his own solo stuff, has been phenomenal. So just that moment of, oh, I need this thing as soon as I can get it, because they're actually like hands-on involved with it. And the biggest disappointment I have in the entirety of the series is that you could not export those songs. So they are stuck on that PS3 disc that I'd have to throw into that big old fat OG PS3 just to experience them again with those plastic instruments.
I definitely. And do you remember the sitar being in there?
Yep.
Like,
why?
It was.
Why? But also, yes, please.
Yes, yeah. That's exactly the mood with that, because it's like, all right, so we're gonna play Guitar Hero Van Halen. Nick gets the sitar from Beatles Rock Band because we don't have any other peripherals that are compatible with this. Yeah, real good stuff. Well, Mitch, thank you for sharing your love of rhythm games, your love of Rock Band, and your love of Guitar Hero. But before we go, where can people find you?
As I said earlier, you can find me on Twitter at Mr.MitchGeorge. It's MR.MitchGeorge. You can find Kinda Funny Toronto on Twitter at Kinda Funny TO, and you can find Press YYZ everywhere. And on Twitter, it is at Press YYZ.
Oh, yeah. And of course, you can find me over here at youtube.com/AcademicPain or at Google Podcasts by searching Memory Lane Unscripted. Also, you can follow my work over at youtube.com/DualShockers, where we have some cool stuff planned for you in the new year, as well as cool stuff in this very channel, wherever you are listening. Thank you, Mr. Mitch George, for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, anytime. And, as always, thanks for watching. Hope you had a happy holidays. I'll see you in the new year.
Happy New Year, everybody.